And since we will face a period of time before the economy recovers, obviously, and even longer before those benefits reach the poorest people, we will need to rely on the homelessness assistance system in the short run to help people, obviously. The Homelessness Prevention and Rapid Rehousing Program and other emergency resources are helping now, but they need to be replaced when they run out, and they need to be strengthened. And communities across the country have shifted their homelessness approach from Band-Aid approaches to housing solutions, to prevention and rehousing, and to planning to end homelessness. These communities have developed plans to end homelessness. We need Congress and the administration, good timing, to, which also, the administration, by the way, also has a really excellent plan to end homelessness, Opening Doors, which focuses on ending homelessness over the next 10 years. We need Congress and the administration to continue to support these local and national plans to end homelessness and to fund them to succeed. And one of the real leaders in Congress, really our leader on the issue of homelessness, is Senator Jack Reed from Rhode Island. We're so delighted to have him with us. I know that he does not need any introduction to many of the people here in the room, but let me just say that we have relied and will continue to rely on Senator Reed to advance the issues relating to homelessness and homeless veterans. He authored and led the Hearth Bill, which really is going to help communities change their homelessness systems to be much more solution and outcome oriented, really refiguring the approach to homelessness at the local level. His experience at West Point and as an Army Ranger have strengthened his commitment, only strengthened his commitment to do something about homeless veterans, and he's been a leader in that issue as well. So we look forward to continuing to work with him to solve the issues of homelessness in the country, and we're delighted to have him with us today. Thank you so much, Senator Reed. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nan, for those very kind words. And I also want to not only recognize Nan for her extraordinary work in leading this National Alliance, but Bill Sermons, who's the research director for the Homeless Research Institute. Bill, thank you for your great efforts. And Ebony Orozco. Ebony is a consumer advocate, a Community of Hope graduate. Thank you so much. I also have to recognize my staff, James Ahn and Kara Stein, who actually do the work. I get to give speeches. They actually do the work. Extraordinarily gifted and committed individuals. I've been engaged for many years in trying to address appropriately the issue of homelessness. As a young lawyer in Rhode Island, I was asked to go and be a pro bono lawyer for a soup kitchen and homeless shelter in South Providence, and from there I began to understand the impact of homelessness in this country, and we have to do much, much, much more. Today's report, State of Homelessness in America, signals, frankly, that in some respects it's gotten much worse, despite the efforts, despite the extraordinary contributions of individuals across this country, the partnerships that have evolved. One is a reflection of the most difficult economic circumstances we've seen since the Great Depression. That has taken a huge toll, and not surprisingly in terms of the homeless population as well as other Americans. And this is not just about a topic, a policy issue. This is about people, our neighbors, our fellow Americans, who are facing some very, very severe challenges. One of the ironies back home in my state of Rhode Island is that the average rent, monthly rent, has increased 45% at a time when the housing market is collapsing. The residential housing market is collapsing. That is a bitter irony for people who are struggling to make ends meet. Struggling, frankly, and in too many cases, middle-income families who have to give up their home and now have to look at soaring rents in the rental markets. That is a very bitter situation and all too prevalent in our communities, not just Rhode Island. But in Rhode Island particularly, we've seen the unemployment rate go from 6% to as high as 12.7% in 2008. It's come down to 11% plus now, still unacceptable. And the homeless population, no surprise, has increased dramatically, about 34% from 2008 to 2009 in Rhode Island. And what else is happening, and what is identified in this report, is the doubling up phenomenon. Families moving in with other families. Technically not homeless, but as the report points out, if you're doubling up, there's a 1 in 10 chance that you'll be homeless very shortly. And yesterday, the Providence Journal, in one of their reports, my leading newspaper, more than half of Rhode Islanders sleeping on cots and mattresses in 2010 were homeless for the first time. This is not the situation of the chronic individuals with several different issues, housing, health care issues, etc. These are people who've always had a home until very recently. So this issue of homelessness, which has always been at the forefront of your efforts, is now taking on even a more important dimension in our country, in every neighborhood. The federal government, state government, local governments cannot tackle this issue alone. We need this kind of partnership that you've been the forefront. We all understand the fiscal pressures that are building at every level of government. That means we have to be more innovative, bring more ingenuity to this effort, more partnership, more collaboration, more of those things that will put people in homes with less resources to do it. Now, I'm here to work, as I've tried to in the past, to help you in your efforts. We must build on the passage of the Hearth Act in 2009. We must ensure adequate funding for these efforts. It's not sufficient to make a legislative statement and then not put the resources behind it to actually help people. And we've got to do that. That's going to be a challenge. It's going to require your grassroots efforts across the country to help my colleagues battle some difficult choices of priorities about where we put resources. And this is going to require a national effort in the rural communities and in the urban communities. One of the things about the Hearth Act is that there's, I think, some significant improvements in the way we deal with rural homelessness. And for too long, this was seen as a central city urban issue, not an issue affecting the Great Plains and the small towns of America. It's there, unfortunately. And this Hearth Act has some better approaches. So I hope we can engage all of my colleagues in this effort. We're beginning an effort today, but actually continuing an effort. I can recall, again, thinking back to the late 80s and when I came down here for a march against homelessness in the 1980s in Washington, all across the country. That spirit is still alive, even in this very difficult environment. And the reason it's alive is, frankly, because of you, ladies and gentlemen, because you have not forgotten that we literally are our brothers and sisters keepers. And that's an important thing to remember. Thank you very much.
Well, you can see why we're so grateful to have Senator Reid on our side working on this issue. Thank you so much, Senator Reid. And now Bill and I